In 2023, at 28 years old, I experienced the joy of becoming a mother to a beautiful newborn baby girl. My father, who is now in his early 50s, remarried a few years back. His wife, my stepmom, has always had a deep fascination with babies, almost to the point of obsession. At first, I didn't think much of it. I assumed she just adored kids. But as I saw her behavior with other people's children, especially newborns, my concerns began to grow. Now that I have a daughter of my own, those concerns feel much closer to home. I had to make a tough call. I decided not to let her meet my baby, at least for now. I knew this would upset her, and even my dad felt torn. Yet, I couldn't ignore my gut feeling about keeping my child safe and comfortable. It's a choice that's brought tension and questions from my family, but for me, it's about what feels right for my daughter's well-being. When my father remarried, I tried to accept his new wife, hoping we could have a good relationship. At first, she seemed warm and caring, and we got along well enough. However, over time, I noticed something about her that began to worry me. She seemed overly interested in babies and young children. It wasn't just the usual excitement people feel around kids. It was more intense, almost like an obsession. She would go out of her way to hold, touch, and spend time with any baby she saw, even children of strangers. Sometimes she would make comments about how much she wanted to care for a baby full-time, almost as if she wished for a child of her own, despite being beyond the usual childbearing age. When I announced my pregnancy, her excitement skyrocketed. She constantly asked me about the baby, making remarks about how she couldn't wait to hold my child and be actively involved. Initially, I thought it was just her being supportive, but soon, her comments and behavior started to cross boundaries. She began talking as though my child was her own and hinted about spending a lot of time alone with the baby once she was born. I found myself feeling uneasy whenever she brought it up, but I didn't want to seem rude by voicing my discomfort. After my daughter was born, my stepmom's intensity grew. She would call repeatedly, asking when she could come over. If I didn't answer, she'd leave messages about how she was ready to take over whenever I needed a break. This made me feel that her focus wasn't on supporting me as a mother, but on fulfilling her own need to be around a newborn. Overwhelmed, I had to make a hard decision. For the sake of my daughter's comfort and my own peace of mind, I chose to limit my stepmom's access to her. This decision wasn't easy, and it caused tension within the family. My father tried to mediate, but even he seemed uncertain of how to handle her intense desire to be close to my baby. I could sense the disapproval, especially from my stepmom, who was visibly upset and kept pushing me to change my mind. Yet deep down, I knew I had to trust my instincts and keep my daughter's well-being first. After deciding to limit my stepmom's access to my baby, I hoped things would settle down, but it only created more challenges. My stepmom became increasingly upset, often bringing up how unfair it was that she couldn't see the baby as much as she wanted. She tried to guilt-trip me by saying things like, "I just want to help," or "I would have loved to have a child of my own." At first, I tried to reassure her that this wasn't personal, that I simply needed to feel comfortable as a new mom. But her reactions grew stronger, and my attempts to explain only seemed to make her feel more entitled to my daughter's time and presence. As her behavior became more intense, I started hearing from other family members. My stepmom had told them I was being unreasonable, that I was keeping the baby away from family for no reason. A few relatives reached out to me, suggesting that I let her spend more time with my daughter, saying things like, "She just wants to feel connected to the family, and it wouldn't hurt to let her watch the baby once in a while." Their comments made me feel misunderstood and isolated, as if they weren't seeing how her obsession was affecting my comfort as a new mom. Meanwhile, my father was caught in the middle, trying to keep the peace, but also subtly pressuring me to let my stepmom bond with the baby. He often reminded me that she was just enthusiastic and meant well, which made me question my instincts. But each time I imagined giving in, I felt a strong sense that I needed to protect my boundaries. I knew that if I allowed my stepmom to take over, even a little, it would be hard to stop her from pushing for more. It wasn't easy to hold my ground, especially as a new mom trying to navigate family dynamics. But deep down, I knew that my priority had to be my daughter's well-being and my own sense of security. Even though it strained my relationships and made me feel judged by some family members, I stood firm. I decided that if they couldn't understand my boundaries, that was something I'd have to accept. In the end, keeping those boundaries felt like the best way to create a safe, healthy environment for my child. As the pressure from my stepmom and some family members mounted, I realized I couldn't handle this situation alone. I needed to talk to someone who could truly understand what I was going through and offer the support I desperately needed. That's when I turned to my closest friends, who had also become parents recently. I started sharing my feelings with them, explaining the challenges I faced with my stepmom's obsession and the family's reactions. To my relief, they listened without judgment. They shared their own experiences of setting boundaries with family, and it felt comforting to know I wasn't alone in facing this kind of pressure. They reminded me that it's perfectly okay to protect my space and my child's well-being. Their support gave me the confidence to stay firm in my decision and reminded me that every mother has the right to choose what's best for her child. I also sought advice from online parenting groups, where I found other moms who had dealt with similar situations. Their stories were eye-opening and helped me see that many people have faced family pressure after having children. They offered tips on how to communicate effectively with family members and set boundaries without feeling guilty. I learned the importance of being clear and assertive while also being kind, which made a huge difference in my approach to dealing with my stepmom. Feeling empowered by this newfound support, I began to prepare for the conversations I would need to have with my stepmom and other family members. I wrote down my feelings, ensuring I could express my thoughts clearly and calmly. I wanted to avoid being reactive or defensive, as I realized that the better I communicated my needs, the more likely they were to be respected. Through this process, I also started to prioritize self-care. I took time to relax, whether that meant reading a book, going for walks, or spending time with my partner. I understood that staying calm and centered would help me approach these conversations more effectively. Ultimately, building this support system made me feel more secure in my decisions. I learned that it's crucial to have people around you who understand and uplift you, especially during challenging times. With my friends and online communities backing me up, I felt more prepared to stand firm in my boundaries and protect my little family from unnecessary stress and negativity. With the support I gathered, it was time to face my stepmom and other family members. I knew this wouldn't be easy, but I felt ready to stand my ground and protect my child. I decided to have a calm conversation with my stepmom first, as I wanted to clear the air and express my feelings directly. When I approached her, I made sure to pick a quiet moment. I started by acknowledging how much she cared about the family and my newborn, saying, "I know you love us and want to be part of our lives." This set a positive tone for the conversation and showed that I appreciated her intentions. However, I also explained my concerns about how she often pushed for more involvement than I was comfortable with. I shared my fears about boundaries and how important it was for me to establish them as a new mom. I told her, I want my baby to have a strong and healthy relationship with everyone, but I need to set some limits right now. I explained that while I appreciated her excitement, I wanted to be cautious and ensure my baby felt secure. It was important for her to understand that my reluctance was not a rejection of her, but a protective measure for my child. To my surprise, she reacted with frustration initially. She felt hurt and accused me of being unfair. But instead of reacting with anger, I stayed calm and reminded her of how much I valued our relationship. I said, "This is about what I think is best for my child, and I hope you can understand my perspective." I could see that my calm demeanor started to diffuse the tension. After our initial conversation, I made it a point to regularly check in with her about my feelings. I found that when I expressed myself honestly, it allowed for better communication between us. Over time, she started to come around, even if she didn't completely agree with my choices. In addition to talking to my stepmom, I had to prepare for family gatherings where the pressure might continue. I decided to set clear boundaries with my entire family. I communicated with them about how I wanted to navigate visits, what was acceptable regarding my baby, and how much I was willing to share about my parenting choices. When family members would push their opinions or demands, I learned to respond with gentle but firm statements. For example, if someone suggested visiting without prior notice, I would say, "I appreciate your excitement, but I need to plan visits so that we can all have a good time together." This helped me maintain control of the situation and reinforced my boundaries. Gradually, I noticed a shift in the way my family responded. They began to respect my wishes more, and I felt a sense of relief. By standing my ground and being open about my needs, I was able to create a healthier dynamic that focused on mutual respect. Through this experience, I realized how vital it is to advocate for myself and my child. Setting boundaries may not always be easy, but it's essential for creating a safe and nurturing environment. I learned that it's okay to prioritize my family's well-being and that my feelings are valid. By standing firm, I could protect my peace and ensure that my child would grow up in a loving and secure atmosphere, free from unnecessary stress and conflict. After establishing my boundaries, I knew it was important to create a balanced environment for my baby and me. While I wanted to protect my child from overwhelming family dynamics, I also recognized the need for my family to feel included and connected. Finding this balance became a priority for me. One way I achieved this was by organizing structured family visits. Instead of spontaneous drop-ins, I set specific days and times for family to come over. This allowed me to prepare mentally and physically for their visits. I would often say, "Let's plan a family day every month." This way, my family knew when to expect to see us, and I felt more in control of the situation. During these family gatherings, I made it a point to create a warm and welcoming atmosphere. I prepared simple meals and set up cozy spaces for everyone to relax. I encouraged family members to bring their energy and love, which helped everyone feel valued and included. I also reminded them that it was a time for bonding, not for pressure or judgment regarding my parenting choices. To further build trust, I decided to share moments of my parenting journey with my family. I would share little updates about my baby's milestones and how we were doing as new parents. For instance, I'd say, "You won't believe it. Our baby just started crawling." Sharing these moments helped my family feel more connected and less like outsiders. They began to see that I was doing my best and that I genuinely wanted them to be part of our lives. I also encouraged open communication. I let my family know that they could share their thoughts, but I would appreciate it if they did so respectfully. I often said, "I love hearing your ideas, but let's discuss them in a way that feels supportive." This approach made it easier for everyone to express themselves without fear of causing conflict. Over time, I noticed that my family members became more considerate of my boundaries. They started to understand that their support was essential, but it needed to align with how I wanted to raise my child. I felt a sense of relief as I watched my baby thrive in an environment filled with love, support, and respect. To maintain this balance, I made sure to keep checking in with my family about how they felt regarding our new arrangement. Regularly asking for feedback made them feel heard and valued. I would say things like, "How do you feel about our family visits? Is there anything you'd like to change?" This open dialogue strengthened our relationships and built trust between us. Ultimately, finding this balance between setting boundaries and including my family required ongoing effort and communication. It wasn't always easy, but it was rewarding. I learned that my role as a parent involved not only protecting my child, but also fostering a loving community around us. Through this process, I grew more confident in my ability to manage my family dynamics. I discovered the importance of being proactive and thoughtful in my approach. By creating a structured and loving environment, I was able to build a strong support system for my child and myself. It taught me that with patience and open communication, we could navigate the complexities of family relationships and create a nurturing home for our baby to flourish. As my parenting journey continued, I began to realize that change is a natural part of life. Just as my baby was growing and developing, our family dynamics were also evolving. It became clear to me that while I had set boundaries, I also needed to be flexible and adapt to new situations as they arose. One significant change came when my baby reached toddlerhood. This stage brought about new challenges and opportunities. I had to rethink our routines and find ways to keep my toddler engaged while also managing family visits. I discovered that my little one was full of energy and curiosity, which meant I had to be more creative in how I interacted with both my child and my family. To embrace this change, I started incorporating more activities during family visits that involved my toddler. Simple games like playing with blocks or reading colorful storybooks became a staple. I would say, let's all read together. This not only entertained my child, but also allowed family members to bond and connect with the little one in a fun and interactive way. Watching my family engage with my toddler filled me with joy and reassured me that we were building strong connections. I also learned to recognize when adjustments were needed. There were days when my child was feeling cranky or overwhelmed, and I quickly realized that it was best to scale back family activities. I would tell my family, "Today is a quiet day for us. Let's keep it low-key." This honesty made it clear that my child's needs were a priority and that it was okay to take a step back when necessary. Moreover, I continued to nurture open communication with my family. I would share my experiences and the lessons I learned about parenting. For instance, I often explained how important it was for toddlers to have structure and routine. I'd say it helps them feel secure and happy. This not only educated my family, but also reinforced the idea that we were all in this together, supporting each other as we navigated parenthood. As we moved forward, I also made it a point to celebrate milestones together. Whether it was my baby's first steps or a birthday, including my family in these moments created lasting memories. I would often say, "Let's all celebrate this special day together." These celebrations help my family feel more connected to my child's growth and development. Now, I encourage you to reflect on your own family dynamics. Are there areas where you can set boundaries while still allowing family to be involved? Consider how you can embrace change as your child grows. Whether it's planning fun family activities or adjusting your routines, remember that parenting is a journey filled with learning and growth. Take the first step today. Have an open conversation with your family about your parenting style and how they can best support you. Share your thoughts, listen to theirs, and create a plan that works for everyone. Remember, it's okay to set boundaries, but it's equally important to allow space for love, support, and connection. Embrace the changes ahead with confidence, knowing that you are not alone in this journey. By fostering strong relationships with your family while prioritizing your child's needs, you are creating a loving and nurturing environment for everyone. Together, you can navigate the challenges of parenting and celebrate the joys that come with it.